So hello and welcome back to number 23 episode of the Broadrun podcast with me talking about all things running. Today we've got a special guest, Mr. Dylan Brogan. How are you doing?
How's it going? Good to be in the podcast.
Yeah, good man, good man. And then obviously we're just talking about saying that you're an avid listener, which is great. 18 episodes
Yes,
in.
18 episodes in. I've binged the podcast, if that's the best way of describing it.
Favorite
Uh,
episode so far?
Favourite one, I like the one with Ed.
Right.
The first one with Ed, just having you two bouncing off each other, obviously from listening, from having you as a coach. Coach is something I've not actually had. Definitely something that I think I should get. We'll obviously probably talk about that further in the episode. But it was good to hear how his goals have set up as well for the marathon and stuff. So yeah, it was quite a good one, and a bit lengthier as well. So it made
Yeah,
things a
yeah,
bit
it's a
easy.
bit more in-depth discussion, I guess, like full 30 minutes of chat. So I guess it'd keep you occupied.
Yeah.
And not that you would ever listen to this at work, would you? You'd never, you'd always be concentrating fully at work in that.
Of course, of course. I mean, put 110% commitment into work, of course.
Yeah, I love to hear it. So you're saying about that you would think about maybe getting a coach one time. So what is it? Tell me about your running for someone that doesn't know Dylan. Obviously, you're quite well known here in the UAE for the things that you do, but tell everybody else who might be listening what about a bit about your running and about what you do.
So basically, I started running early 2021, which was off the back of COVID. I get COVID quite bad, or so I thought, quite bad, and I noticed my father-in-law was running 5Ks back home in Scotland. So we're quite competitive, me and my father-in-law, and it stems from football to running to everything. He's on the other side of the team. So there is that little bit of rivalry there. So if he done 5K, I wanted to do 6, and then so on and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
forth.
yeah.
So basically, what stemmed from just running around town square in Dubai, like doing 3Ks, 5Ks, and then pushed myself. So I done a 5K, I think it was in February. The next run I went straight out, done a 10K. Next run I went straight out and done a 15K. Off the back of each other from not running, I mean, from school time. And then just I get like proper into it. Signed up for a half marathon in the October. During the time from when I started running to the half marathon, I was listening to a podcast from back home where it was talking about ultra runs,
Right.
which I had no idea what an ultra was. I thought marathon was the furthest you could run, which most people probably do think. And yeah, I mean, I just found a love for it there. I jumped straight from a half marathon in Festival City to a 50 kilometre run in the desert. And then from there, my love for the sport just grew and grew. I mean, obviously, you're aware of what I feel like I can give back into the community with the sort of side business that I've built off the back of running and my love for it to try and give back to the community. But I just feel that my running career per se lacks a lot of how
Structure,
would I put it?
perhaps.
Structure. That's the word.
Yeah. But
And
obviously
that's
you're,
where.
yeah, but obviously like you're the first guest that we've had here that's also a father. You're father of two.
Yes.
So I mean, how does that would you say has that sort of affected the way that you plan and schedule and do stuff? Obviously, you're very supportive wife and stuff. So, but how do you find that that sort of plays into it?
I mean, being a father of two definitely does have its difficulties in terms of training. That's one of the reasons why I've put off getting a coach. My days, if I'd like to say, is a Tuesday and a Thursday when I'll try and run. But
Right.
that's without getting home and all hell's broke loose in the house because the little ones aren't behaving or whatever. So then the running gets put on the back burner. So yeah, I mean, it's good and it's bad. I always try to set myself a goal, like, and I tell my wife that look, if I can get these sort of runs, like the one I'd done in the summer, I ran the 100k for a
Right.
children's charity, and I just said to her, look, my training will be the way it is. I'll try 2 runs a week if possible, and then they travel home for the summer, so that's when I try and increase my training program, or not
Yeah,
training,
yeah.
my runs, my weekly runs, which 2 weeks sort of
Emergency
training
training.
to run 100 kilometers isn't the best because there's
Yeah,
no
so
paper.
obviously, if you've listened through, you would have heard me talk about Lewis and Doug's 110K that I was coaching them for and all the different stuff we're doing.
Yes.
So everyone heard about that perspective. So talk to me about doing a 100K race on 2 runs a week. How did you
Yeah,
do that?
I mean, the 2 weeks before the run, obviously increased the volume to maybe 4 runs because there was no kids, no wife. I was finishing work. I ended up buying a treadmill for the house because I mean summer, here running in the heat, you can't really run much further than 10k without dying almost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I managed to do 2 weeks at 70k, and that's probably the most I've ran in a week out with having an event or a planned run included in that week. So it's probably not. I mean, when you're talking about the 2 guys, I think they were hitting 80s, 90s regularly
Yeah,
per
yeah, yeah.
kilometre
For
weeks.
weeks and months.
Yeah, I mean that's probably advisable to do.
Yeah, yeah. But
But
also like commendable to be fair, because most people listening to this, if you're thinking like I'd say the average person who consider themselves a runner probably does 25 to 35 kilometers a week, I would say. So if
yeah.
someone hears 70K and they hear that you bust that out with no issue, they'd probably be like, how has he done it? So how have you done it? What do you reckon? Do you reckon that plays into your, obviously you must be mentally resilient when it comes to going out there and putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a mental aspect. This was the furthest I had ever ran. It was actually 30k further than I've ever ran. I'd done it fully self-supported. Uh, Stupidly didn't download the GPX file either for the run,
Nice.
so it was orienteering, so I get lost. But it was mainly mental and motivation, like just my mindset for these type of things because I do the runs for a charity. I've got that at the back of my mind. So what sort of look doable? To be honest, I look at that run as a DNF because I did aim to go and do 126,
Right.
but called it short. And that was again through poor nutrition during the run, having running through the night myself, no GPX, so getting lost, and having to drink water from the side of the road because I had nobody to support, and 1.5 litres isn't going to last. Well, in Scotland, the shops close at like 6 p.m. and they don't
Yeah,
open
yeah.
till 8 a.m. So, yeah, there was a lot of factors that I knew was going to happen, but I just didn't think it was obviously going to snowball the way it did. Simple things that if anybody is listening, lubricate. If you're going for long
Right.
runs, make sure you use lubricant because chafing and being stuck in the wilderness isn't the best of things. The only good thing I could say is that the shorts that I wore, and I took this tip from you, is the skin tight
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nike shorts. Best things ever. Best things I've bought.
Yeah, yeah.
Need
Definitely.
to need to stuff a bit some socks down there right enough for
Yeah, well, luckily,
confidence,
if you're in
but
the wilderness, there's probably no one for a couple 100 miles, so you probably get away with
yeah,
it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I
So
mean,
you say your
all in all,
nutrition. So what were you? Did you have a nutrition plan, a nutrition strategy that you had made up yourself? And what did you? So what if you did have a strategy, or if you didn't, it doesn't matter. But if you did, what did you do versus what did you do?
so I mean, if I go back to the episode where you were talking about nutrition and I think 60 to 90 carbs per hour is 90, what is it, 60, yeah,
Yeah,
carbs per hour.
yeah.
That's what I had actually based my run on. So I broke down the 126k. I aimed to do it within 20 hours, 22
Mm.
hours, and I broke down in 10k segments. And depending on the elevation, because I ended up, I think it was 2,800 metres elevation I was covering. I broke down the timing over that 10k, where I'm going to be, and then the nutrition. And just from previous ultra runs that I've done, I know that I don't take solid food.
Hmm.
So I bought what do you call it, bag of, it looks like protein powder. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
carb
yeah.
powder
Carb powder. Yeah.
from Precision Hydration,
Nice.
sponsor hopefully. And I just knew that it would need to be a liquid diet, so between that and gels, I bought the 90-gram gels that they
Hmm.
had, but obviously the amount that I had to take was more weight on the bag, so I was trying to minimise that. And then one thing that genuinely does it for me is Chupa Chup lollipops,
Right.
Skittles. So every run, regardless, if it's 50k or more, I always make sure I've got a bag of sugar,
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I have a very big low, and I mean, I don't think this is recommended. Like that, my
Yeah, yeah.
nutrition is completely diabolical
Uh-huh.
for any runs, which you'll probably tell me if we
No,
dive
so that
into it.
so that that sounds like that was your plan, but you said it went to hell. So tell me about if that was your plan, which sounds like if you said that to me, I'd probably say, well, that sounds like a good plan. That sounds like you've
Yes.
pretty much covered all bases. Obviously, for something over that long, you would probably typically look to add in sort of more solid food just to prevent GI issues. But if you're experienced ultra runner like yourself, maybe you probably wouldn't. So tell me about what went wrong.
So the plan obviously was the plan. Um, what I find myself doing is not sticking to any plan. So
Right.
pacing, nutrition, whatever, uh, I'll stick to it for so often, and then it's just like a mental switch in my head. It's like, no, just get down and get it done. And in the long run, in races or runs that I've done, it's caused a lot of fatigue. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, some of the calories I ran Edinburgh to Glasgow, and I think I burned something like 7 or 8 thousand calories,
Hmm.
and I only had a can of iron brew and two Chupa Chups to fill
Right.
that,
Okay.
plus the gels. Give it,
Right.
like, we had gels, and I always try to do one gel every 45 an hour, but for that run in particular, I maybe stuck to it until night time, which I
Hmm.
started the run around 4 o'clock. So I had maybe about 5 hours of fueling, which
Hmm.
was to plan, and then night time hit and the darkness set in, and I just didn't want to stop. So it was like head was down, and I think if my nutrition was right, or I had been structured and stuck to it, it
Hmm.
might have been a different outcome. My timing might have been better. I might have been able to finish it. So yeah, I mean, that's probably where the plan went. Just personal
Mm.
wrongdoings.
Yeah, less a lesson, though, isn't it? Like, I guess as long as you try and learn from that one and go on to the next one, because I'm sure there'll be other challenges around the corner. Like, I'm sure you can tell us what's on the cards next. Something special, isn't it?
Yeah. So I've got on the 2nd of November, last one standing in Hatton,
Right.
which is done by Peak Sports. It's a local um, event company.
Hmm.
They've really, in the past couple of years, brought trail running into Dubai, into the UAE, and it's just blown up. So this one's, it's a 7.4 kilometre loop with around
Right.
250 metres elevation. Again, I'm going into this with, I think I've covered 38 kilometres this full month.
Right. Okay.
So my training is probably rock bottom. In my mind, I've got 2 weeks to step it up, and
Right. Okay.
the aim for this is to do 8 loops. You get
Right.
12
Okay.
hours to do it.
So 50,
Um,
50, 60
yeah,
kilometers.
60
Good
kilometres, and
maths.
yeah, that was fast. You need to know that sort of stuff. Being a coach, someone asks you straight away, what's my pace? You
Yeah.
need to know. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm looking at eight loops, 7.5 kilometres, looking about an hour and a half maximum
Mm-hmm.
per loop. And
Right.
that's
Okay.
taking into consideration like walking a large portion of it.
That'll be around 7 minutes. 7 minutes a k.
Yeah, more or less. Which
Yeah.
going uphill, you're
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
looking
If
nine
there's any
nine.
road, if there's any road runners listening, they're probably thinking 7 minutes a k. That's a joke. But then if there's anybody that's ever done trail running before, they're probably thinking that's pretty nifty. That sounds like
Yeah.
a good day out.
So I mean, this is the big difference between road runners and trail runners. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't class myself as either. I enjoy trail running more because
Mm-hmm.
what you see, but when you actually like, I mean, the best example is if you finish a marathon and you're talking to someone and they say, "Oh, you done a marathon? That's amazing. What was your time?" First answer, always, what was your
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
get judged on that. If you
Yeah.
tell someone, "Oh, I done an ultra," or "I done a trail run," they're like, "Fucking hell, mind my French," but they're like, what
Mm-hmm.
was that like? Like
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
and that shows the difference. Whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing, I don't know. I just don't like the competitiveness of the
Mm-hmm.
marathons or road running, like five
Mm-hmm.
k's, 10 k's. I just don't like running too fast
Right.
because I
Yeah.
end up blowing out
Yeah.
my backside.
Uh, yeah.
But with the trail running, yeah, I mean, the 7 kilometres an hour is something that you sort of focus on the timing, but it's not something that you fully focus on, if
Yeah.
that's the best way. And I don't know how that stems in terms of the previous episodes where you're talking about your timings and what
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
setting goals.
I think that's probably the main difference at road running is everything is like numbers based, and it's always you want to beat. It's never about beat someone else. It's always about beat yourself, you know. But as a result, then people ultimately judge, what other people's accomplishments are and decide whether they think that what you did was good or not. But yeah, you're like you say, if you go and say I did a last man standing, or last one standing, sorry,
Yeah,
and you carry on, it's something totally different. It's something that most road runners' mind couldn't comprehend, and something that they could probably do with 9 times out of 10 relaxing and thinking it's actually not that serious. Go out and do this thing for an enjoyment. Because I do sometimes ask people. I say to them, especially if they're in the depths of training and they're complaining about this, that, the other, and I ask them, I say, "Do you enjoy this? Like, just frankly, do you enjoy it?" Because like I do, I know that if I go out and have a shocker, I'm allowed to be annoyed for a day or two and say, right, whatever, I put a lot into this, it wasn't good. But ultimately, I enjoy the process of going out every day and training for something.
yeah,
And I think you need to constantly ask yourself that question. And then obviously it's like evident you do enjoy going back and doing these challenges and stuff. So even if you go out and you say you blew up after 30k on that 100k run instead of 100k, you're like, oh, I had a good time. You know what I mean? I went out, tried something. You did
yeah.
something that 99% of people don't do. They go out and try something. So it's definitely commendable. So fair
Exactly.
play.
It's like that self gratification that you can get from the runs or from the training. That I mean, it's good to build up your confidence. It's good to give yourself targets, goals that you've spoke about before as well.
Hmm.
And I mean, talking about goals, it's not for me. It's not necessarily timings or trying to get faster. It's how further I can go.
Yeah, yeah.
And and I don't know. I don't know if anybody that listens to that has the same mindset. It's like I don't care about getting a 19-minute 5k at the moment.
Right.
I know that if the training was there and structure, it's probably doable. But
Mhm.
it's okay. I've done 100k. I want to go 100 miles. Then I want to go further than that and further than
Yeah,
that. And
yeah, yeah. Push the limits. Yeah, there's
it,
different ways to put. There's different ways to push the envelope, I guess, in not just running, but in everything, right? You know, different tests, different stuff. Like, is what it is. You got to go and find out what sort of excites you and go and chase and get after it. You know, I think one thing you'll soon discover though is like, because you don't do a lot of the specific training, is I think like you find more satisfaction in the training. Like the more you put in, obviously the more you get out, but obviously they actually enjoy the process of it. And I mean, once you get that sort of locked in, it's always good fun. But
yeah.
like speaking of how far you can go, what do you reckon of your man doing those 1,000 miles on the track?
Ah, mad Ned
What do you
Broadrun.
reckon of that?
He's, I mean, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. Mentally, it's insane. Like, but his goal was to, I don't know if you followed it closely, it was something I was like every day on social media trying to get the updates.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was trying to beat the current record, which I think was 10 days in
Right,
6 hours, I'm sure it was.
right.
So that was his goal, to do 1,000 miles in less than that. But I think just the strain on his body,
Uh-huh.
it blew up, and I think he ended it in 12 days. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah. He missed the record, but decided to keep on trucking effectively.
in that's the type of mental strength that that I admire have. Because I mean, he could have got to the 10th day, saw that he was like 300 kilometres less or however many it was,
Yeah, yeah.
threw in the towel
Hmm.
and said, "You know what, I gave it a good run, but I couldn't match it." But no, he continued to plod on and to
Great.
average what, like 120
7:30 or something.
kilometres.
That's what's crazy to think about that he did that, and it seems so unfathomable. But there's someone out there who did it faster.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's this one. To be honest, all the Aussies are mental. Shout out to all the Aussies that do these crazy things. There's one just now that's doing 100 kilometres a day for 100 days.
Right.
So I don't know, from a coaching perspective, I'm bouncing a question back to you. How do you feel the body would, like, what sort of training do you need to do? Because I know what 100 kilometres in one day
Hmm.
done to my body, and I took 17 hours to do it. To do that repetitively for 100 days, it must be. It,
From a coaching perspective, obviously I've never coached such a feat, but like if I was thinking about it, I mean, realistically, the body is you're gonna have to get to day one, right? That's the number one goal. Get yourself to go in, complete the 100 in a reasonable enough time that you still have enough time to sleep and sort of get over to the next day. Because obviously, come 24, what was 0001, 24 o'clock goes round, you're going to have to start again, right? So whether you like it or not, you're putting your shoelaces on and you're moving again. So you have to do it in enough time that you're realistically getting minimum, say, 4 to 5 hours sleep at an absolute minimum, but ideally more. So, if you're saying you finish that first one in 17 hours and then you're getting, say, that's 7 hours, but that's before you've packed, taken your shoes off, eaten something, got to bed, like, you need a support plate in this sort of thing. But what I would say is just obviously it's just incredible feat of like mental resilience and like just blows your mind like every day when you see what some people are able to achieve.
yeah.
And hopefully it leads to people to be inspired rather than be like put down and be like, I can't believe that person's doing that. Hopefully you go out and do your own challenge. Maybe that 100k a day for 100k is the equivalent to someone's 5k. Do you know what I mean? You're like,
Exactly.
it could be just what's your Everest, as my old rugby coach used to say. So like, what is your challenge that is difficult for you, that it is achievable, but you just have to set your mind to do it. But yeah, it's definitely um yeah, it's good. I want to go back and touch on what you were saying about local businesses. Obviously, you've said you've got your side venture. So tell us about your side venture and what it's got to do with running and how it came about.
So, I mean, dabbling in the world of ultras, I looked at what accessories you need for, especially being here, the time that you spend in the outdoors, outside running for a prolonged period of time, and it got me thinking, and I've saw so many good brands from the UK, from Australia, from Canada. The designs of the hats, the headwear that they do is remarkable, and it's something when I done a bit of research within the region we don't really have anything, and especially for the heat and the weather conditions within the Middle East, you would expect at least some sort of sun protection would be available. And I tried out so many different branded hats, and they were good. I'm not bringing them down, but I just found the durability of them for the weather conditions here was quite a challenge. I mean, that's my take. So what, and as well being such a diverse city with many nationalities, pay grades, everything the community, the city has, I felt that these specific brands were quite overpriced for what you were getting. That, again, this is my take. And I wanted to see if I could create a product that's durable, it's cost efficient for the community, and it's easily available, and obviously nice as well. So yeah, that's where UltraHeadwear came from, and I started it with, if it doesn't take off, if it doesn't do well, I've got running hats the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So that was my take, and to this day it's still the sort of ethos that I hold against the company. And just from there, I've sort of built it organically. So within the communities, I've had a lot of help. Started off with Jamira Johns, a lot of great guys there. Obviously, that's where we met as well. Spreading the word, the trail runners, DXB, great community as well, has really helped along. And then slowly got into events as well. So Peak Sports, as we spoke about earlier, from Last One Standing, they've been really supportive of the brand as well. So yeah, I mean it's running hats, and I've then dabbled in the hydration, so soft flask bottles and various sizes.
Which I
And
used
yeah,
on my most recent 50k run.
yeah. I mean, the way I look at it is the products that sell are replaceable. They're replaceable. It's a niche sort of market, but you need to make them affordable as well. So, like in your 50k, say you've spent however many hundred dirhams on a well-known branded bottle, and it bursts, and you might not be in that place financially to then go and buy a new one, or same with your hats or whatever. And I've just tried to market it in a way that if someone lost it, someone damaged it, someone left it somewhere, and or they didn't like
Yeah.
it, whatever, it's
Yeah.
they can it's accessible. That's probably the best way. It's cost
Yeah.
efficient
Yeah.
and it's accessible, and the quality of the product is meeting the customer's demands. I still wear the same hat that was the prototype from almost 2 years ago. Colours
Yeah,
the
that's good.
same,
Stand the
so
test of time.
yeah,
Yeah, you
exactly.
have seen some of these other running hats, like there's ones that are like $250 and stuff, and they're just absolutely ridiculous. Like you would for $250, I want the hat to jump off, you run the 5k for me, and then come back, and you
Exactly.
know what I mean. But yeah, you're right. It's just like as long as it does the job, it's obviously a good price point. I wear mine pretty much every
Yeah.
day when I go out running and stuff, so it's like really cool and obviously good to have that little side passion project, which I absolutely love to hear. So
Exactly, and if it wasn't for the communities, I probably wouldn't be at the stage I am with the brand. I feel as well that where I can or when I can, I try and give back to the community. So doing the usual giveaways or discount codes to certain groups or whatever, giving back to charities, or if someone's running for a specific charity or hiking, I'll donate on behalf of the company. So I'm trying to just keep
Yeah.
it as enjoyable. It's one of those things I don't want to take over my life at the moment, and I want to still enjoy designing the hats and
Yeah, yeah.
seeing people wear them and taking that, again, a bit of self gratification on seeing the hats out there and saying, that's my product, and I'm happy with that. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I
And
mean,
it definitely
it's
will keep growing. Do you know what I mean? Like a thing that comes from like a passion like that, like you can't fail. Like the only way that you fail is if it ever stops. You know what I mean? If you decide to pack it in.
exactly.
But like if you can make it whatever you want to be. But it's yeah, definitely cool to see it out there and have like a product, from here, supported by local runners. It's like pretty cool. So I love to see it.
And I couldn't do without my ambassadors. Shout out to the three ambassadors, Mr. Broadrun himself,
Mm.
Scott and Matt. So each as well have their own different takes on running. Yourself is in the triathlon. Scott and Matt do trail running, road running as well. So it's been interesting to see the events and you guys wearing them there, which again spurs me on to try and create a better product to give back to you guys, and hopefully it can enhance your performance. I don't know how much a hat enhances your performance, but I
But
mean,
if you look
if it
good
had
doing it,
rocket,
man, look good, feel good.
exactly. I mean,
But I mean,
I've turned you into models overnight. What can I say?
exactly. Well, that's been excellent chatting with you, Dylan.
It's
I
been
appreciate you
brilliant.
taking the time and hopefully got a good bit of insight. Hopefully we catch you back on here sort of post last one standing and we'll hopefully see you, hopefully maybe with a trophy. Who knows?
I don't know about a trophy, but yeah, no, I'd definitely love to come back. It's always a pleasure chatting. So,
Thank
thanks
you,
for your
mate.
time and have a good one.
Thank you. I'll put Dylan's hat stuff in the show notes so you can check it out. All right.
Thanks, Bert. Have a good one, mate.